You just got your paycheck deposited, $9,800 after taxes, and for about 45 seconds you felt good. Then the phone buzzed. Your rent auto draft cleared, then your student loan payment. Then you remembered you still owe $600 on your credit card from last month's emergency Amazon order. And just like that, $9,800 feels like a rounding error. You're not broke. You make more than most people in this country. So why does it always feel like you're 1 month away from disaster? Here's the part that no one wants to say out loud. The problem probably isn't your income. 6 figures doesn't automatically buy you out of the psychological traps that keep people financially stuck. And I've watched people earning $150,000, $180,000 a year. Smart people, educated people, people who work incredibly hard, stay essentially broke their entire careers. Not broke, but never building anything, never actually getting ahead, living check to check with better furniture. What I want to walk you through today is the real reason that happens, not the surface stuff. Not spend less on coffee. If I hear that one more time, I'm going to need therapy. I'm talking about the invisible architecture of beliefs and behaviors that quietly destroy wealth no matter what number is on your salary line. And I promise you by the end of this, something is going to click. Whether you act on it, that's going to be your choice. And let us talk about what your financial life actually looks like right now. Not the version you tell someone at a dinner party, the real version. You're probably carrying somewhere between $12,000 and $35,000 in non-mortgage debt. That could be student loans, credit cards, a car payment, maybe all three at once. You have some money in a 401k, but you've never really sat down and figured out if it's enough. You tell yourself you'll figure that out later, when things calm down. Things haven't calmed down in 4 years. You've gotten raises, several of them. You remember thinking after your last raise, okay, now I'll finally be able to save properly. And then somehow, mysteriously, the money still isn't there at the end of the month. Every time your income has gone up, your life has quietly, gradually expanded to consume it. You probably have 2 or 3 subscriptions you've forgotten about. Not hypothetically, actually right now there's something auto-billing you every month that you'd be annoyed if I told you how much it's added up to. You've had conversations with yourself about getting serious about investing. You've maybe downloaded a budgeting app. You deleted it 3 months later because looking at the numbers made you anxious. And here's the one that really stings. You know somewhere in the back of your mind that you should be further along than this. The gap between where you are and where you thought you'd be by now, that gap is quietly stressing you out every single day. That gap isn't a math problem, and that's what I need you to understand before we go any further. Here's where it gets interesting and a little uncomfortable. The system you're operating inside of was never actually designed to help you build wealth. That sounds like a conspiracy theory, so let me be specific. Every single touch point in your life, your bank, your credit card company, the apps on your phone, the stores you shop at, the neighborhood you live in, the cars people drive on your street. Every single one of those things is designed by incredibly smart people with enormous budgets to do one thing: capture as much of your money as possible before you can build anything with it. Nobody taught you this. In 12 years of school, did anyone ever sit you down and explain how a revolving credit balance actually works? Did anyone show you the difference between a financial product that's good for you and one that's structured to extract money from you for decades? Did anyone explain what an expense ratio is on a mutual fund and why a 1.2% fee versus a 0.03% fee on an index fund could cost you literally hundreds of thousands of dollars over a career? No. Because that information doesn't benefit the people selling you those products. And it's not just the financial industry. Lifestyle inflation is the quieter predator, and nobody names it until it's already eaten 10 years of your earnings. When you got your first real job, you were happy with a studio apartment and a used car. Then you got a raise and it seemed reasonable to upgrade. Then you got promoted and it felt weird to still be driving that car when your colleagues weren't. Then you had some life changes, maybe a partner, maybe kids, a house. And each of those things came with a new baseline, a new floor below which you couldn't reasonably go. Your fixed costs didn't just rise with inflation, they ratcheted up with your income. And the ratchet only turns one direction. Here's the trap inside the trap. Lifestyle inflation isn't irrational. Moving to a nicer neighborhood, driving a safer car, eating better food. These aren't stupid decisions. They're normal human responses to having more money. The problem is that the financial system has figured out how to market every single one of those normal responses to you in a way that captures almost all of the upside before you can keep any of it. Your raise gets absorbed. Your bonus gets spent. Your tax refund disappears into things that feel important in the moment and leave no trace 6 months later. And then there's the identity piece. This is the one that really doesn't get talked about. At $150,000 a year, you have a certain image of yourself, a certain standard. There are things you believe people at your income level do, and things they don't do. They don't clip coupons. They don't drive 20-year-old cars. They don't shop at discount grocery stores. They don't tell their friends they can't make it to the restaurant because it's not in the budget. The social performance of success becomes its own cost center, and nobody ever presents you with the bill until it's too late. The game has changed and nobody told you. Your parents' generation could in many cases work a stable job for 30 years, take the pension and be okay. That world doesn't exist anymore. The responsibility for your financial future has been shifted almost entirely onto you, through 401(k)s, through the gig economy, through the death of defined benefit plans, while simultaneously the complexity of financial products has exploded and the forces trying to capture your money have become vastly more sophisticated. You're being asked to win a game that's harder than ever, with less preparation than ever, against opponents who do this full time. The deck isn't just stacked. The deck is stacked, the dealer is in on it, and the house designed the whole room. But here's what no one tells you about money. And this is the part where I need you to actually stay with me, because this is where most finance content either goes completely wrong or just stays shallow. Financial freedom is not a number. I know you've heard some version of this before, so let me be very precise about what I mean. There's a concept in behavioral economics called the hedonic treadmill. The basic finding is this: humans are extraordinarily good at adapting to new circumstances. Get a raise, feel great for 3 months, then that's just normal. Buy a new car, love it for 6 months, then it's just your car. Move to a nicer place, be thrilled for a year, then it's just where you live. Our baseline for what feels like enough rises almost automatically with what we have. This isn't a character flaw, it's evolutionary wiring. The problem is that this wiring makes it almost impossible to reach a financial number and feel secure because your definition of the number keeps moving. So people earning $150,000 feel the same low-level financial anxiety as people earning $50,000 because the question their brain is actually asking isn't "do I have enough money?" it's "do I have enough relative to what I've become used to?" And the answer to that question can always be no, regardless of income. This is why lottery winners so often end up broke. This is why celebrities file for bankruptcy. This is why your colleague who just got a massive promotion is somehow still stressed about money 6 months later. Financial freedom isn't about reaching a salary. It's about building a gap, a real sustained growing gap, between what your life costs and what your assets produce. And to do that, you have to actively fight against the psychological machinery that wants to keep that gap at zero. Now let's get into the specific behavioral patterns, because this is where I want to give you something concrete to work with. The first pattern is what I call income anchoring. Your brain treats your income as your baseline of what's available to spend. Whatever comes in feels psychologically like it should go out. This isn't laziness. It's a deep cognitive bias called mental accounting. We categorize money based on how we got it, and income feels like spending money in a way that inherited wealth or investment gains often don't. The fix isn't discipline. Discipline is exhausting and finite. The fix is automation. Pay yourself first. meaning set up an automatic transfer to investments or savings the day your paycheck hits, not what's left over at the end of the month, not after bills. First, make it invisible. Your brain will adapt to spending the smaller number within 60 to 90 days. This is not an opinion. This is behavioral science with 40 years of research behind it. The second pattern is status spending disguised as quality. There's a real difference between spending more on something because it performs better, lasts longer, or genuinely improves your life, and spending more because of what owning it communicates about you. The $8,000 watch doesn't tell time better than the $200 watch. The luxury car does not make a statistically significant difference in your daily experience compared to a well-made mid-range car. The designer clothing is not warmer. These are status purchases. And the uncomfortable truth is that most people around you are making those purchases on credit, which means they're not just spending money, they're paying an interest premium to signal wealth they don't have to people who are doing the same thing. It's a theater of prosperity, and you are paying full ticket price for a show where everyone on stage is also an audience member. Here's how you tell the difference in practice. Ask yourself, if nobody else could ever see or know I bought this, would I still want it? If the honest answer is no, you're buying the signal, not the thing. And signals depreciate to zero the moment you're not in the room. The third pattern is risk avoidance dressed up as responsibility. This one is subtle and it costs people hundreds of thousands of dollars over their lifetimes. Most high earners I've observed are not invested aggressively enough. They have too much money in cash, in low-yield savings, in safe but slow instruments because they associate being responsible with not losing money. But here's what they're actually doing. They're choosing a guaranteed slow loss because inflation, real inflation that accounts for what your actual life costs, runs at somewhere between 4% and 6% in practice, over the possibility of short-term volatility in exchange for real long-term growth. $100,000 sitting in a savings account at 4.5% interest, which feels great right now, becomes roughly $150,000 in 10 years. That same $100,000 invested in a diversified equity index, historically averaging around 9% to 10% annually, becomes closer to $260,000. That gap is not a rounding error. That's $110,000. That's a year of your salary, just sitting there, that you left on the table because volatility made you nervous. And across a 30-year investing timeline, that kind of risk avoidance doesn't just cost you comfort, it costs you the entire game. The fourth pattern is the I'll start when trap. This one is maybe the most devastating because it feels so reasonable in the moment. I'll start saving aggressively when I pay off this debt. I'll start investing when things are more stable. I'll figure out my finances when I'm not so busy. I'll think about retirement planning when I'm a little closer to retirement. These are all completely logical sounding statements. They are also, every one of them, financially catastrophic. Here is an actual number for you. A 25-year-old who invests $500 a month until 65 at a 9% average return ends up with approximately $2.3 million. A 35-year-old who does the exact same thing ends up with approximately $940,000. Same contribution, same return, 10 years of waiting. The cost of that delay is $1.36 million. Compounding doesn't care about your reasons, it only cares about time. And every month you spend convincing yourself you'll start soon is a month of compounding you can never get back. Now here's the uncomfortable truth I promised you. The reason most high earners don't build wealth isn't bad luck, and it's not that they don't have enough information. There is more free financial information available right now than at any point in human history. You can watch a full course on index fund investing on YouTube tonight for free. You can read the entire foundation of modern personal finance, the evidence-based stuff, not the get-rich-quick noise, in 3 or 4 books that cost $30 combined. The information is not the problem. The problem is that your lifestyle is in many ways just someone else's marketing budget made physical. The car in your driveway, The subscriptions on your phone, the clothes in your closet, these are the material results of billions of dollars in behavioral research designed to answer one question: how do we get this person to spend money they haven't earned yet on things they don't need to feel something they can't sustain? You have been optimized against. You have been the target of systems more sophisticated than anything you were equipped to defend against. And the first step, first step, is to recognize that this is happening, not to feel victimized by it, to see it clearly. Because once you can see the machinery, you can start to choose what you actually want. Your income is not the ceiling, it is the raw material. And what you build with it is determined almost entirely by the distance between what your life costs and what your financial decisions produce. That distance, that gap, is the only number that actually matters. Not your salary, not your job title, not how many subscriptions you have or what neighborhood you live in. The gap, and you can start widening it starting tonight with one automated transfer, one canceled subscription, one honest conversation with yourself about what you're actually spending and why. But here's what I want to leave you with, because I think this is where most financial content gets it wrong. They want to leave you with a neat resolution, a list of 5 steps, an action plan with check boxes. And sure, that stuff has value, but the deeper truth is that none of those tactics will stick until you've done the harder thing, which is asking yourself an honest question about your relationship with money. Because here's the fork in the road. You can leave this video, feel vaguely motivated for a day or two, and then let your default patterns pull you right back into the same cycle. That's not a criticism, that's just how brains work. Default patterns are powerful. Or you can let this be the moment where something actually shifts, where you stop thinking about financial decisions as a math problem you haven't solved yet, and start seeing them as behavioral patterns you can interrupt one choice at a time, where you stop waiting for the number that finally feels like enough, because you now understand that number doesn't exist. It's not a destination, it's a practice, every single day. So here's the question I want to leave you with. And I'm asking you to actually sit with it, not scroll past it. What would your financial life look like if you stopped making decisions based on what someone else is supposed to earn at your income level and started making them based on what you actually want your life to be? Because those two things are not the same, and the gap between them might be exactly where your financial future is hiding.